everyone, it's Monica. Welcome back to Artsy Bits, my channel where you know there will be creativity, but you're not sure what the creativity will be. Today I'm working with my Kuretake watercolors and I'm working on repackaging them. If you've watched my last video on this channel or a video recently on my other channel, you know I'm on this kick right now of digging into my art supplies and reworking packaging that I'm not loving. So when it comes to these Kuretake watercolors, the packaging is definitely something I haven't been in love with. This is just so enormous. It gets buried at the bottom of the drawer. I never pull it out. I love that you can take the watercolors out one by one and use them, but really that green box is just so huge. So I went ahead and I ordered this set of tins, all 5 of these tins, 4 little ones and 1 larger one, complete with lids, came in this Amazon package, and so I thought maybe I'd be able to work something out using these tins and using these Kuretake watercolors, work something out here that is going to allow me to actually use these more often and in a better way. I'm going to reach for them more. That's the goal. I'm going through my art supplies right now and picking out things that I don't use very often, and I'm just deciding that if I don't use them, I should probably pass them on to someone else. Or maybe I need to just give myself a second chance with them and repackage them in such a way that I'm sure to use them more often. So here what I'm trying to do basically is minimize the space they take up in the drawer and make them, instead of just long and flat, make it a little boxier and a little smaller so that it can fit well in my drawer with my other watercolor palettes and other things that I use quite often. I want to be reaching for these more. I don't want them to just sit and be neglected. What a waste, right? So as you can see here, I did some work and I'm kind of separating in a way that makes sense to my brain. I'm just kind of separating some colors out here into the little tins, and then I'm using this big tin as well for the final dozen colors that were left in the box. So this is what I've ended up with. I've ended up with 8 little watercolor pans and 1 kind of large watercolor pan holding all of these smaller watercolors and keeping them organized. I did think about putting that in the lid, the greens in the lid, but later I decided not to do that because they can fall out. These magnets are only so strong. So speaking of magnets, these are just some magnetic sheets I also got off Amazon. If you're interested in links in any of these things, just leave a comment below and I can get that link to you. But basically what I'm doing here is I'm going to be cutting squares from this adhesive magnet sheet just to fit the backside of these Kuretake watercolors, and then each one of them is going to get their own little magnetized back so that it can sit in these tins and not slide around too much while I'm working with them. I just love this idea and I'm hoping that it's going to work for me as time goes on and that I'll just be using these a whole lot more. So I'm not going to yammer on too much more through this video. As you're watching, grab something nice to drink and sit back and relax, and you can see how this goes forward. So real quickly, let's look at the size comparison here, you guys. I am not unhappy. This takes up less than half of the footprint of the other one. It's a little bulkier thickness-wise, but I'm just fine with that, and I'm just thrilled. I'm thinking that I'm going to be grabbing for these a whole lot more. Now the next step here is I want to make some swatch charts for every little sort of mini palette that I've created now. And so I'm just using some watercolor paper, cutting it down to size and getting it ready to be swatched on so that I can keep the swatches of the colors nearby close to these watercolors. Because that's another thing that I find so hard is when you can't really look at a color and know exactly what it's going to look like on the paper. I'm just not prone to use it quite as much, or I use it and just make a mistake and use the wrong green or the wrong blue for what I'm trying to achieve. I hope that makes sense. Anyhow, long story short, I'm making some swatches here to hopefully make these more user-friendly, and I'm just thinking I'm going to be reaching for these a whole lot more often. So basically, when all is said and done, here's what I'm left with. I'm left with these little mini palettes that honestly sort of inspire me to do some monochromatic watercolor pieces. Doesn't that sound fun? I'm inspired by swatching these already. But basically, I'm just left with pans of watercolor and then these swatch cards, and I'm hoping that these will be much more usable going forward than they were in that giant flat green box. So they pack up pretty well here. As you can see, I've used the lids and the bases of the small tins to hold these watercolors. As long as I put the bases in first, the lids will fit right on top without sliding around or getting lost in the tin too much. And here's just some final pictures of what we're looking at with this new repackaging. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Would you use it this way? Would you use it less this way? Do you prefer it in the original packaging? It won't hurt my feelings. I'd love to hear your opinion. If you've enjoyed this, do give it a thumbs up like I said. And if it interests you, subscribe so you don't miss any more videos that I post. Find me over on Facebook at Artsy Adventures. I'd love to see what sort of artsy adventures you're up to. I'm also on Instagram at InstaArtsyBits. If you're interested in my spiritual journey, you can click that little icon in the bottom right-hand corner. Otherwise, I hope you just have a wonderful day and hope to see you in another video soon.